right, that leads us into our next section. Our next section is called Lead Your Adventure, and that's because that has been my biggest takeaway in scouting personally. It is one of the mottos in scouting, slightly edited to my own personal appeal. I've taken the Lead the Adventure motto from venturing and changed it to be my own life motto, which is Lead Your Adventure, specifically lead your own adventure. I know that was something I struggled with when I got into scouting, as there's so many cool people out there that it starts getting scary to become your own person, especially when you're young. And I think scouting gave me the opportunity to learn how to be my own individual. And I think you've started to touch on that, especially with your experience as an entrepreneur. But how have you learned to lead your own adventure as you grew from a scout to this professional that you very clearly are here?
It's absolutely about thinking what adventures you want to have. I decided I wanted to have the business adventures from the entrepreneur perspective, and I just committed to it. So that became a whole bunch of adventures, plural, right? I had all these different things. Even each company had its own stages and ages and, chapters. And then there was multiple companies. So that was certainly, an adventure that had its roots in scouting, as I described earlier. But it plays out in family too. And I'll give an example. I was looking for a pack to put my sons in when they got of age to be in Cub Scouts, and had a choice to join an existing pack or another group was starting a new one from scratch. And I said, you know what? I'm an entrepreneur. This new one from scratch looks pretty interesting. So I was the assistant cub master, is what I was, and then I became the den leader for tiger cubs because my middle son then came into tigers and did that, and then did that for my youngest son, um, and then did that. That was great. And as my oldest son was coming out, because we'd started a new pack, we now needed a new troop, and I said, "I'll start it." So I chose the adventure of starting a troop from scratch. And it started with just 11 boys. And we didn't even have a place to meet because the church was not available till they finished construction and some other things. So we kind of scratched and found places to meet off and on for the first 6 months. But we did. We had great camping schedules and got out and did things and attracted some kids that moved into the community. So now it gave me a couple older boys to serve as SPLs.
I'm sure they all learned how to
And
hike.
yeah, so we did all that. So we created our own venture, and the first year I had 11 kids. I had 4 join it, and then I had 17. Then the next April, I had 24 kids join. So I went from nothing to a pretty decent sized
Yeah.
troop. The third year, I had 31 boys join, and the fourth year, I had 23 join. So we quickly shot up to 80 with obviously a little bit of attrition, but not much. And at that point, it's like, okay, we're in this tiny little church basement that comfortably holds about 35 people, and we're all jammed in here. So we did a lot of games outside, no matter what the weather was. But that was an adventure that I chose. I chose that because I wanted to have a troop that had 2 core purposes. One was high adventure, that we were going to have a real strong high adventure group, and the other was we were going to be the experts of youth leadership development.
There you go.
And we did. So turned out our council had previously run the predecessor to NYLT, and they had stopped doing it because they didn't have good leadership. And of course, I made the mistake of criticizing it, and he made me say, "Great, congratulations, you're in charge." so, so all of a sudden, I found myself as scoutmaster and starting up. Like I said, it was called junior leader training time, but we did a whole rewrite of everything, and I, of course, participated in that a few years after that point. But uh, we started up, and the kids in our troop were key to that, and they were some of the they weren't the original staff members. They were too young, but they quickly became, staff members. And it was just a huge, a huge element of the experience that all the kids in our troop did. And we gave it to everybody in the council. We have a small council. And we were training over 100 kids every year. So
This has been a clip of the Born to Be a Scout podcast. To catch the rest of this episode and any other episode or post, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Born to Be a Scout podcast, or look out for full episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. If you are a scout who would like to take your leadership in scouting or even your future business career to the next level, be sure to check out NYLT Leadership Academy this summer and Leadership Heights at the 2026 National Scout Jamboree. In the meantime, be sure to lead your own adventure.